slow process of grieving, reappraising their values, rebuilding their lives, and discovering that not everything in their world was ruined. Many who had lost spouses went on to remarry. Even in the best cases, though, decades later, they remained mosaics of their new identities formed after the Coconut Grove fire, and of their old identities established before the fire. We shall have frequent opportunity throughout this book to apply that metaphor of mosaic to individuals and nations, in whom or in which disparate elements coexist uneasily. Coconut Grove provides an extreme example of a personal crisis, but it was extreme only in that bad things befell a large number of victims simultaneously. In fact, so many victims that the fire also provoked a crisis demanding new solutions in the field of psychotherapy itself, as we'll see in Chapter 1. Many of us experience individual tragedy firsthand in our own lives, or secondhand through the experiences of a relative or a friend. Yet such tragedies that strike only one victim are as painful to that victim and to his or her circle of friends as Coconut Grove was to the circles of its 492 victims. Now, for comparison, here is an example of a national crisis. I lived in Britain in the late 1950s and early 1960s at a time when it was undergoing a slow national crisis, although neither my British friends nor I fully appreciated it then. Britain was world-leading in science, blessed with a rich cultural history, proudly and uniquely British, and still basking in memories of having had the world's largest fleet, the greatest wealth, and the most far-flung empire in history. Unfortunately, by the 1950s, Britain was bleeding economically, losing its empire and its power, conflicted about its role in Europe, and struggling with long-standing class differences and recent waves of immigrants. Things came to a head between 1956 and 1961, when Britain scrapped all of its remaining battleships, experienced its first race riots, had to begin granting independence to its African colonies, and saw the Suez Crisis expose the humiliating loss of its ability to act independently as a world power. My British friends struggled to make sense of those events and to explain them to me as an American visitor. Those blows intensified discussions among the British people and British politicians about Britain's identity and role. Today, 60 years later, Britain is a mosaic of its new self and its old self. Britain has shed its empire, become a multi-ethnic society, and adopted a welfare state and high-quality government-run schools to reduce class differences. Britain never regained its naval and economic dominance over the world, and it remains notoriously conflicted, Brexit, about its role in Europe. But Britain is still among the world's 6 richest nations, is still a parliamentary democracy under a figurehead monarch, is still a world leader in science and technology, and still maintains as its currency the pound sterling rather than the euro. Those two stories illustrate this book's theme. Crises and pressures for change confront individuals and their groups at all levels, ranging from single people to teams to businesses to nations to the whole world. Crises may arise from external pressures, such as a person being deserted or widowed by his or her spouse, or a nation being threatened or attacked by another nation. Alternatively, crises may arise from internal pressures, such as a person becoming sick or a nation enduring civil strife. Successful coping with either external or internal pressures requires selective change. That's as true of nations as of individuals. The key word here is selective. It's neither possible nor desirable for individuals or nations to change completely and to discard everything of their former identities. The challenge for nations, as for individuals,